So it is 7 p.m., April 25th, and this is the LOCAC meeting. And I am going to do a roll call to see if we have a quorum. Andrea?
Present.
Danielle? Don't see her yet. Larry? Present.
Present.
Gary? No Gary yet. Okay. John?
I'm here.
Present. Deborah?
Present.
Molly?
Here.
Trish Bartel present. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have enough for a quorum. We're missing Danielle, Gary, and Jim Stanfield, who I did see today, and he should be here. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Chairperson announcements. Elections are next May 4th, which is coming right up. And we have openings in District 1, 2, and 3. And we also have members running in 1, 3, and 4 currently. So the elections are going to be at the community center from 10 to noon. Molly, Jim, Gary, and John are going to be there to help run the elections. Had a meeting with Molly today, so she and Jim know exactly how to go forward. Coastal Commission has tentatively approved the Los Osos Community Plan with minor changes, and Claire will talk about that later today or tonight. Cabrillo Estates property owners are inviting all property owners to attend a meeting on Tuesday, May 14th from 6:30 to 8 to discuss LAMP versus the connection to the sewer for Cabrillo Estates. And we want to thank Larry Bender for his 10+ years of service on land use and on LOCAC. And he is.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry. I would call it retiring.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
resigning. You're retiring.
Retiring, yes.
Still going to be on land use?
As a public member, and
Yay.
and I will be joining the LOCAC meetings as a public member also.
Yay. Good.
Excellent.
We need your intelligence and your history. You can't leave.
Yes.
We need you here. Do we have any council member announcements? Nope. Okay.
I think I'll just elaborate on the meeting that Cabrillo Estates is going to have. It's going to be down at the Baywood Inn at their meeting room, and there will be someone from county staff to explain what LAMP, which is Local Area Management Program, what it's all about. And then there'll be somebody from the Regional Water Board to discuss the water quality issues, and that's what that's all about.
Thank you. And I do have one other thing. I do have to let everybody know that Kristen did resign. Her work life has gotten a little bit too busy, and she needed to step back and concentrate on that for right now. So we will be looking for someone in District 2 also. All right, let's jump into the sheriff's report. Stuart McDonald, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Okay. Can you unmute? He's trying. There. Nope. Yep.
Yes. Got it.
Got it. But we can't hear you.
We still can't hear you.
It should be on the very bottom of your screen on the bottom left. The very bottom. You have to kind of tap it in the bottom left.
Oh, you just muted. Okay. Hmm. Now you're unmuted. Oh,
Can you hear? Can you
Yep.
hear me?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. I'm not able to hear you, but if you can hear me, I'm going to go ahead and give you the March report. In March, in Los Osos, we had 15 arrests. That was actually 11 persons that were arrested, but due to warrants that some of the people had, they counted separately, so there were 15 arrests in total. We had 2 battery reports. Those were both simple batteries. We had 23 disturbances, which included 17 general disturbances, 1 family dispute, 3 neighbor disputes, and 2 fireworks complaints. We had 1 vehicle burglary. We had 7 theft reports, which included 6 petty thefts, which is a value of loss less than $950, and 1 grand theft. So that would be a loss over $950. There were 2 vandalisms. One was at a church, and it was just property damage. It wasn't graffiti or any kind of hate speech at that church. And then 1 damage to a vehicle. We had 2 phone scams. One was a Bitcoin scam, and the other was the warrant scam, where they pretend to be a law enforcement officer and say that you can pay off your warrant by using gift cards. Again, I'll caution anyone if there's gift cards involved, and or if they're asking you to make deposits into Bitcoin and you're not familiar with how Bitcoin works. Those are generally scams, and with the Bitcoin especially, can be very, very difficult to track, if impossible. There were 20 suspicious circumstances calls, which included 10 suspicious circumstances, 5 suspicious vehicles, and 5 suspicious persons. The deputies that work in Los Osos in March conducted 40 enforcement stops. That included 1 pedestrian stop and 39 vehicle stops. There were 25 preventative patrol activities, which included 21 on-site activities, 5 foot patrols, 1 extra patrol, and 1 patrol check. And unfortunately, I'm having difficulty with my microphone and my speakers, so I'm unable to hear you. If anyone wants to put a question in the chat, I'd be happy to entertain those questions.
I don't see any. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know how else to do that. I don't know how else to do that. Highway Patrol, I didn't see them come in. If you snuck in without me seeing, please raise your hand. Okay. All right, let's go to county staff report. Claire, I will ask you to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me
Hi.
okay?
Sure can.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everybody. So I sent every month, just for those who aren't familiar, I always send over a report of active permits and plans and tree removal requests to Trish, and she disperses them to the council. Those were sent over today. If in your review of those you have any questions, please communicate that to Trish, and she'll let me know, and I'm happy to help out. So yeah, I think the big ticket thing to speak about tonight is that we have an update about the Los Osos community plan. So it hasn't been certified by the Coastal Commission just yet, but we do have a hearing date from them to have a hearing date about the community plan. We're looking, they've given us 3 dates that they'll choose from: June 12th, 13th, or 14th. So that's kind of a calendar update, but my division and Supervisor Gibson's office will coordinate on how to kind of talk about what that really means and the next steps next month. At next month's LOCAC meeting, we would love to just share about what does this even mean for the community. So if you have questions, please hold on to them. And we'll get to dig into that subject a little bit more next month. I don't remember if I coordinated with you, Trish, but hopefully that would be okay to take up some time next month.
Don't worry, I have it on the agenda already for next month.
Awesome. Great.
Yep.
And then, yeah, I think some council members were talking about at the beginning of the meeting, but tomorrow is our community advisory council orientation that the county is putting on. We'll be in downtown SLO. That's for council members to just get oriented to what being on a CAC means. I'll be there, and a bunch of my coworkers will be there. We're really excited to kind of just dig into what community involvement looks like in the planning process. Let's see, I know there's a good amount of council members who aren't able to attend, but we'll be recording the first half of the orientation tomorrow, and I'll make sure Trish gets a copy of that recording.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions for Claire? Andrea?
I don't have a question, but I did want to say that the Coastal Commission meeting, I believe, is scheduled for in June is Central Coast, and I think they're trying to work with Morro Bay to be in Morro Bay, but either way, they will be on the Central Coast. So I would encourage everyone to attend for a number of reasons.
And do you have that date? I'm sorry.
They haven't certified the exact date yet. It'll be the 12th, the
13th or 14th. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Deborah?
Yeah, hi Claire. Just a quick question. After the Coastal Commission votes and hopefully certifies the community plan, I'm assuming it then goes to the Board of Supervisors, and then they will also certify the whatever changes and
yeah, so super like high level zoomed out, that's the course of action. So the Coastal Commission, a lot of times on things like these, they'll give suggested modifications, what they're called, of changes they want to see to the plan that our board tentatively approved, but that has to be certified. So it would, we would hear what those modifications are in June, and then staff would take the plan with the suggested modifications back to our county board, who would deliberate on those and approve or deny. Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John?
Yes, I have a question about, is there any permitting activity at Pine and LOVR where those dilapidated houses are? Everybody has seen grading going on at that site. Could you give us any insight of what's happening from the county's point of view?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, John, but I would be happy to look into that and message you and Trish about it, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, and I did look at your what you sent tonight, and it was not listed on that.
Okay.
So it's something that we probably need to take a look at, because they have added fencing and they're doing grading. So I'm getting a lot of questions too from the community.
Yeah, I'd like to know the answer on that too.
Okay, you said Pine and LOVR?
Yeah, it's on the The
That's the
northeast corner.
Northeast, yeah.
Okay,
It's a large parcel with a bunch of condemned kind of buildings.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no other questions for Claire, we will go to Supervisor Bruce Gibson. And I will ask you to unmute. See, you didn't think that you're going to be on so quick, did you?
It's always, I never know what's going to happen more than about a minute ahead of time. It's, but that keeps life interesting. Madam Chair, it's a pleasure to be with you this evening, as always. It's been a busy cycle since last I was with you. I was trying to think of a lot of any particular Los Osos relevant things, and Claire covered it. The reason that we will hold off on discussing the details is I'm hopeful we would have Coastal Commission staff report out by late May, so we could actually know specifically what their suggested modifications are. So there's been some general conversations, but I have not seen the staff report. It's typical, you know, they still have to run their May meeting. So we'll get the details. We'll get it in front of you. It is my understanding to be held in Morro Bay. We'll see if that gets confirmed. And Claire gave you all the rest of the details on that. In terms of things that might be relevant to Los Osos, I mean, our budget continues to grind forward in the face of horrible news at the state level, where the budget deficit there is anywhere from 38 to 50 odd billion dollars, depending on who you ask. That's, you know, we're waiting for about May, I want to say 13th or 14th, when the governor releases what's called the May revision to the budget, which is where we finally get down to some details with what he's going to slog through the legislature to see what can be done. I was in Sacramento last week and heard the President Pro Tem of the Senate speaking, saying he was not going to cut a dime of homelessness funding from the budget, which is great news, but he is just one person among 121 that really are going to have to decide that. So we'll see how that goes. In a more local sense, in early April and May, on the April 9 meeting, the county did pass a new nuisance noise ordinance, unreasonable noise ordinance is what it's called. It redefines the characteristics of what constitutes an unreasonable noise in a more common sense way than the decibel levels and things that are a more technical definition that the land use ordinance does. So I see this as a really positive step. It meshes up very nicely with the enforcement provisions of the vacation rental ordinance, such that if I believe if a property is cited for unreasonable noise, that will count specifically as a verified violation, and 3 such violations within a 6-month period are grounds for revocation of the vacation license permit. So that's good news there. And beyond that, I don't have any specifics. Certainly happy to take your questions, but before I yield the floor, let me add my thanks to Mr. Bender for his many years' service to this council. A small token of my appreciation in the form of a certificate is in the office, and we'll make sure it gets out to Los Osos and into your hands as soon as we can. But I really appreciate your service, Larry. I've been noting this month that it was 30 years ago this month that I joined the Cayuca Citizens Advisory Council, and I guess let that serve as a cautionary tale. I know that all I know is the amount of work that it takes, the patience and the commitment, and I'm deeply grateful for it. So with that,
Thank you,
Madam Chair, happy to take questions.
Are there any questions from council? John?
Yes, Bruce. We wonder if there's any news as to the status of Sunnyside School deliberations.
Not at this time. We are on hold with that, awaiting an appraisal to be delivered. And I do believe that's at least another 30 days out. I recall it was 10 to 12 weeks when that was when it was indicated that that appraisal was pending. I had a 10 to 12 week timeline on it, and I think that's still at least 30 and maybe 60 days in the future.
That would be to the school district, and that would be shared with you folks?
Yeah, it's part of our closed session negotiations.
Okay.
But it is a formal appraisal of the property that we have, if we're going to purchase the property, we have to rely on the appraised value, because a public entity can't pay more than
Sure.
a fair appraised value.
Sure.
So that's our.
The other comment I would like to ask you is, what has sort of fallen off the agenda is a dog park for our community, and I just want to encourage you that we still would love to have one, even though it doesn't seem to be getting any traction right now. But we were over at Morro Bay today, and they have such a nice dog park, and we understand the difference between the two entities. But I just would encourage you to look at the possibility of a dog park for our town.
Sure, and absolutely high on my list. Every park that I go to that has a dog park is really well used. It's a great use of parkland. The path is about to open a little bit later this year. It has to do with actually us being able to implement the Habitat Conservation Plan, or HCP. I think that all comes together very nicely with the approval of the community plan. Once we can get the community plan approved, that wraps the HCP, and a bunch of other stuff into a planning vision for Los Osos. And I'm given to think that when, as Claire indicated, Coastal Commission is going to take action, which I hope is positive, if that will eventually come back to the board for our consideration of it. And at that consideration, which would likely be fall, early fall, I wouldn't put a date, even a month on it, but at that, we'll have some further actions to take on actually implementing the HCP. And once we've got that implementation mechanism in place, then it's full speed ahead. And the deal with that was, again, the project of the LOCSD, which has park projects, and as my understanding, utilizing volunteers to provide the capital and the construction effort to make it happen. Once we get the HCP in operation, it should not take very much to get that done.
That project is still alive then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Okay.
All right, next up is Deborah.
Thank you. Bruce, would you mind speaking a little bit about the redistricting commission and how, who and how somebody would serve on that commission?
Yeah.
In a short form.
Well, in a short form, if one has lived in a Tibetan monastery within this district for about 20 years and never, given to a political campaign or, express, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be so flip about it. As it stands right now, the Independent Redistricting Commission is moving through the legislature as Senate Bill 977, authored by Senator John Laird, co-authored by Assembly Member Don Addis. That sets up a commission that shares the format with commissions that have been set up in 7 other counties that have had their independent redistricting commissions set up by state legislation. It speaks to a piece of the election code, and it has an extensive list of qualifications. And what I was attempting to joke about was that those qualifications are aimed at finding people who can be unbiased in their consideration of the issues before. So there's a long list. You can, if you look up SB 977, you can see that list. But you can't have held office You know, close relatives of yours can't have held office. You can't have contributed more than, it's either $250 or $500 to a political campaign within a certain amount of time, and so forth and so on. Just trying to move away from folks who are obviously politically partisan. One has to be able to demonstrate in some fashion the analytic skills to understand the objective criteria of drawing fair districts relative to the California Fair Maps Act, and there are a number of other things. This commission goes into place in probably late 2030 as the 2030 census information is brought forward, to take action during 2031 so that the new districts are ready for the 2032 election. So this is out there in the future, but our board majority felt it very important to act now while this is still on people's minds, get this set, get us ready to deal with it. And I'm hopeful of its moving forward. I was in, as I said, Sacramento last week. I testified twice before 2 different Senate committees. It's moving. You got through those committees just fine. We expect it to move on. There's no reason I can see the governor wouldn't sign it. One bit that has been adjusted is the actual makeup of the commission as proposed in the bill. There's an application process where folks are vetted to have the necessary election code qualifications, and then representatives from each of the 5 existing supervisorial districts are picked as the first 5 members of an 11-member commission. Those 5 members in turn then review the pool of applicants and pick 6 more at large. The thought being, it doesn't, you know, if you're doing your job right there, it doesn't matter what district you come from. It's a matter of how you approach the job. So those are that's the frame of where it is right now.
Thank you. I appreciate that explanation.
Are there any other questions from council? Okay, then let's go to public. Lindy, I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you go.
Hey, thank you. Good evening, Bruce. On that last issue, are we still kind of afloat with Debbie Arnold as our official supervisor? And while you fill in, or did things get put into new position? I have 2 other questions.
I am your supervisor if you want me to be your supervisor. That was the key of that whole confusion when the redistrict was drawn and Los Osos was put in District 5. Supervisor Arnold made very clear that she had no interest in representing the newly drawn district. I was the last supervisor who was elected with some votes, at least from Los Osos. I've always been happy to continue to represent Los Osos, all the things that I'm involved in here. That never changed. And part of the damage done by that gerrymander was the confusion that was caused by this shifting, this radical shifting of the boundaries that left some communities feeling abandoned and some communities overlapped. So, you know, Atascadero is going to vote for a supervisor 3 times in 4 years. They have voted for a supervisor 3 times in 4 years. Poor Atascadero, where Los Osos is going to go 8 years between votes. And that was just part of the real damage done. But to cut to the chase, my office has continued all through this to represent Los Osos.
Okay, yeah, what a mess, and we appreciate you. My 2 questions are, I'm still in many hopes looking forward to Oklahoma and Kansas. This is on the homeless issue, possibly reopening and giving it a try with maybe a professional management crew to get people that have vehicles off the street, because I see nothing else coming about. So that's one question.
Well, I'll be very plain about that. There is not going to be a safe parking site at that site at Kansas and Oklahoma Avenue, for a number of reasons, not the least of which it was located on top of a landfill where it was only supposed to be a temporary site, and we stretched that as far as that could go. But the other reason is you may remember there was litigation filed against the county. There was a hearing last Friday where the federal judge has indicated that the county can continue, the temporary injunction that was issued against the county has been lifted. Next Monday, the 29th, is the start of the closure of it, pending possible appeal. We're not sure about that, but the court has ruled that we can close it. We are going to close it. We're going to figure out where next to establish some safe parking. In the meantime, we're working on shelters of a whole bunch of different sorts, and we'll move forward and take care of people's needs that way.
Okay, and then my last concern is, as always, about water. And you have been using the word trending towards sustainability as a purpose for the fact that we will probably go ahead and see some new draw from our aquifer with new construction. I think that needs to be defined really well, because those of us that watch the basin management, there's no improvement in the water quality and the situation. We don't have more water. So sorry about my dog, Leo. So anyway, as we go forward, I think that needs to be clarified with us that know differently. So
well, I'll take that as commentary. I disagree with the assertion. We can look at any number of annual reports. The basin is not in overdraft at this point. There are management issues that need to be attended to, not the least of which is nitrates in the well down at the bottom of Cabrillo Estates. Levels of chloride that are higher than we'd like to see them. But if you really take a look at the data as a whole, the management plan is working as it was intended to work. We're going to continue to move it. Certainly water will be a major topic in considering Coastal Commission's certification of the community plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Supervisor Gibson? Nope. All right, thank you so much.
With
Appreciate
that,
it.
certainly an email, a phone call to the office. We're happy to respond. I'm going to take off here and wish you a very good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you.
All right, let's move on to CSD report, and I see Chris here. I'm thinking maybe you are going to be our rep tonight.
That's correct. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Chris.
Okay, so I guess along with the rest of the state, the May meeting will be about reviewing the financial year 2024-2025 budget. Budget highlights include planning for the November election. We have 2 director seats up for elections. They made us also map. So I believe it is, let's see, area 3 and 5. I can share that map later if you like. The area 3 director's not signing up for it again, so that's going to be vacant if anyone's interested or knows anyone that might be interested. Great. Sorry. And I pulled up the map and now I can't find my notes. Oh, here we go. Okay. Other things of note on the budget, we're going to be updating the cost of fire protection for services provided by CAL FIRE. There will be increases in cost based on the CAL FIRE union negotiations, and updating the reserve amounts required to purchase new fire vehicles. Also, we're going to be purchasing new water billing software, updating the district's master plan, and implementing a fairly aggressive capital project plan. And lastly, adding to the solid waste reserves for the first time since taking over the franchise in April 2022. That's it for the budget planning. We're also going to do a solid waste rate setting manual update. The district has teamed up with the other agencies to update the methodology on how solid waste rates are set. Agencies served by Waste Connections have been experiencing large rate increases, and the hope is that by updating the way the increases are determined, more stable and reasonable increases will be expected in the future. And the last bit, you've already been talking about the Habitat Conservation Plan implementation. With the recent approval of the HCP, the district staff has been working with the county on an implementation strategy for the district's capital projects, and that will be subject to the mitigation fee associated with those projects. There's still many details, and our staff will work with county to work those out. And that's all I have.
All right. Any questions for Chris?
Do you want to see the map?
I would love to. I shared our screen for you.
Okay, how do I need to do something?
Nope, you should just a normal share screen.
Oh, I don't know if I know how. Let's see. I've seen that before. Whiteboards. Is it at the bottom?
Yeah, it's at the bottom. It kind of in the middle bottom.
It might be in green.
It's
Oh,
it's
Hey,
in green.
there it is.
Here.
And it
And
is
there's
in
a green
green.
arrow.
All right, let
There you
me
go.
make it big.
Perfect.
No, that's fine. That's great size.
Are you seeing it?
Yep.
Okay, so it's this red one. There's going to be a vacancy, and also purple is going to be open. That's where Marshall serves, and those are the two areas that are going to be
Okay.
up for election. So if you know anyone interested that lives in those areas, it's unfortunately more complicated than at large, but that's what we have.
Sounds good.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for sharing that.
Sure. Do I unshare?
Yeah.
No, you just click off. I mean,
Yeah, unshare.
unshare.
Anyway, well, you can move on, I guess, if there are no questions for me. Oh, it looks like I'm back.
Okay, because I have to have you if you could just click it off.
It should say
Oh, there
stop
it is.
screen share.
There you
There
go.
you
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for the coaching through it.
No worries. That's what we're here for.
I knew in theory it could be done. That's my first time. So now I'm a pro.
Now you're the expert that we can call upon.
Right. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's move on to Chamber of Commerce report. Jim?
Yeah, we're a big deal for us. Coming up on May 11th is our annual awards dinner. The last one last year was tremendous. The food was excellent. Excellent evening, seeing the awards going to these community members who give so much. We recognized Annette Sheely as our Citizen of the Year. Volunteer of the Year will be Annie from Honest, and I'm sorry, Wayland is her last name. And the Business of the Year will be gone blank on it. We
Right
have a
side.
new
Right
Right
side.
side pizza?
Brightside Piece is the new
Right side.
Business of the Year.
Oh, that's new business.
And the Business of the Year is Carstairs Energy. That's who it is. Yeah. Tim has done a lot with his company for our community. He's been very active in the community and in the chamber. It'll be a big evening. Libations start about 5 o'clock. Dinner served at 6 and program, and shortly after dinner. It's a great evening. If you're interested, go to the lobpchamber.org. Sign up for dinner. They do it all online. It's a marvelous evening. If you haven't done it before, I think you would enjoy it.
Great. Thank you, Jim. And any questions for Jim? All right. Let's move on to public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Anyone have raise your hand if you have a public comment. Okay, I don't see any raised hands. So Jim, you're back on for the treasurer's report.
Okay, great. Well, there's a lot of benefit information here. We have a beginning balance of March 1st, $1,412.19. Got a whopping 12 cents interest added to our account. Check was cashed for $100 to pay our dues to the chamber. Ending balance at the end of March, $1,312.31.
Woo-hoo.
Whoopee. We're not broke.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Larry, for land use.
Yeah, we hadn't received any projects for this month. So we're probably gonna have a quick meeting because
You
I
have
will be
one.
stepping.
You have one that I sent you for a home in Cabrillo that wants
Okay.
to take over half of a cul-de-sac.
Okay, I will look.
Yep. You do have one for May. You do have one for May that I sent you.
Okay, so we have one there, and we'll be discussing who's going to be chairperson and stuff like that at our land use meeting. And I'll look at that one project. So we have one project for our land use meeting coming up May, was that 6th?
Okay. And
So
chairperson
we'll
has
see
to be,
everybody then.
and that has to be a LOCAC member. So right now that would be, you only have one of those on there.
Oh, okay. That's easy.
So guess who that would be?
Gary?
Molly?
All
Oh,
right,
Molly and
Molly.
Gary. Okay,
Oh,
good.
Gary, yeah, Gary.
Yeah, I forgot Gary's on there.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on to trees and landscaping.
Thanks, Trish. Tree and landscaping, we don't have anything for you today, but we did successfully working with EcoSlow plant along Los Osos Valley Road near the post office. I hope you have all been able to see the trees that were put there. They look really great.
Really nice.
We had a fantastic meeting last week. I was going to say last week. I'm just talking about future planting plans. We're looking into some things at this point, but we will keep you posted as usual. Let's see, John, am I missing anything?
No, you did great.
All right, that's tree and landscape. It's a happening committee, let me tell you.
Thank you so much. Let's move
Oh,
on to
Actually,
yes.
Trish, I do want to actually
Yep.
publicly thank Catherine Corson. She's on the she's doing the minutes for the tree and landscape. She's a public member of it, and she's doing the minutes for tree and landscape, and she's doing an awesome job. So thank you, Catherine.
Here.
That is awesome.
It is
All
so
right.
awesome. Oh, Lindy's got her hand up, I think.
Yep, I'm coming. I'm
Oh,
coming.
sorry.
Nope.
Oh.
There. I think I did it. There you
Yeah,
go.
I wanted to just request that maybe we could get the oh, she left, darn. If we could get oh no, Claire's still here. If we could get the updates to the tree applications that have been put in, they're really difficult to get off. If they could get forward to tree and landscape and to land use.
Okay, they just came out today, and I sent them to all of the LOCAC council members. So they have those to share with you, and I am going to unmute Claire so she can tell you that. There you go.
I just wanted to assure you, Lindy, that in the past month, there were no requests. So right now, you're not missing anything new.
Okay, well, it's just hard to keep up with it, and once they're gone, they're gone. So appreciate the updates every month. If you could keep that up, we really, it's helpful.
Good. Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
All right, Deborah, water report.
Yes, so couple things on the water report. First of all, there was no Basin Management Committee meeting, so I don't have anything to report from them. But you may have noticed that there's some work going on Los Osos Valley Road, Pecho Road, coming up into Cabrillo. That's work by Golden State Water, putting in a new main line. So that work is going to take several months, and so you should be prepared for some traffic slowdown there, as even today they had it down to 1 lane. So just, be aware. The other thing is, and Bruce mentioned this about nitrate levels. The nitrate levels at the S&T well on Pecho and the Golden State well that serves Cabrillo Estates are showing high nitrate levels. And that is actually the reason why Cabrillo Estates is under the LAMP, which stands for Local Area Management Program. And that says that if you have any problem with your septic system, you must then install an advanced system that is basically a mini wastewater treatment plant at your house for your individual house. And that is a way that they intend to cut down nitrates. The meeting that the Property Owners Association has called for the Cabrillo Estates residents is to discuss the LAMP so that they understand exactly what this new requirement is for each resident up here, and then discuss whether or not getting on the sewer wouldn't be a better option. So it's a big topic, and I will keep you updated with what happens at that meeting. The nitrate levels for those 2 wells, the S&T well and the Golden State well, is actually going to be on the agenda for basin management next month. And so if you're interested to know more about that, you can attend their meeting, which is they meet monthly, but sometimes they don't. But there will be a May meeting. How's that? And that's my water report.
John, do you have a question?
Deborah, are the nitrate numbers that are updated, are they published someplace, or can you share the actual numbers with us?
I don't have the numbers with me, and you probably can find them at the Basin Management reports. All I can tell you is that they are very close to the limit of what's allowed. And so they're like right on the edge, basically. And it has to be dealt with. The big question that is in front of the Basin Management Committee and their discussion is about, is this old pollution, legacy pollution from the years and years and years of septic throughout Los Osos, or is this continuing pollution that's coming from Cabrillo Estates? And so there's a proposal that from the Water Quality Control Board that 2 monitoring wells be dug, one next to each of the resource wells. And so then that opened up the question of, well, who would pay for these wells? The county didn't want to pay for them. Obviously, the water purveyors didn't want to pay for them. Would they ask the residents to pay for these monitoring wells? And obviously a monitoring well is just to gather more information and data. It wouldn't solve any problem. And so I think that's why the residents in Cabrillo Estates are saying, well, hey, instead of studying the problem, let's fix the problem. But just so you understand, and I know you do understand this, if this area were to go on septic, they would have to go through a similar process of what happened in Baywood. They would have to form a taxing assessment district. They would have to tax themselves so that they could pay for the sewer pipeline to be installed up here and all of that. So it's not a simple, it's not apples to oranges. Let me just say that. It's very hard to compare these two solutions. So it's an ongoing discussion. That's what I can tell you.
And I think the only thing I want to add to that is a lot of the residents of Cabrillo, what they don't want to see is they don't want to see that, okay, they have to put in a mini wastewater treatment plant and they spend the $200K for that, which they can't afford. And then a year later, then the county comes back and says, you've got to connect to the sewer, which could be another $150,000, which will mean a lot of the people up here would have to sell their homes. So they want one answer, not having to pay twice. So that's one of the big issues for this area.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's jump right into active transportation, Deborah. And I'm going to go turn
yes.
a light on in my room.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it on too, if I can find my light. Yeah, so let me adjust that so I'm not, okay, that's better. On April 4th, I attended a meeting at the San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, that's LOCAG for short, regarding safe routes to school. Just for those of you who aren't familiar with SLOCAG is the organization that holds several designations that give it the authority to allocate funding and plan for a variety of projects that affect all 7 of the incorporated cities and all of the unincorporated areas of San Luis Obispo County. So bottom line is they hold the purse strings for funding projects. And I'm going to share my screen so you can take a look at some of the, oops, let me go, hold on a second, get it up here, because there was some kind of interesting stuff that came up that I thought you might be interested in seeing. So they did a public survey, and I was very happy to see that 31% of the parents from San Luis Coastal, which is our school district, responded to the survey, and we were actually the most, had the most response of all the school districts in the county. One of the questions here that they asked is, which of the following issues prevent or make you less likely to allow your student to walk or bike to and from school? And so if I just scroll down here, you can kind of see the graph, but I'm going to tell you the top 5 reasons. So top 4 reasons: speed of traffic along the route, safety of intersections and crossings, the amount of traffic along the route, and the quality or lack of sidewalks or paths. So this is common sense, right? We know this, we live this. Next question, let me just go to which of the following would make you more likely to allow your student to walk or bike to and from school? Select all that apply. So the top reasons are, and you can see the percentages here, okay? Improved safety at intersections and crossings, new or improved sidewalks and paths, new or improved bike lanes, reduced speeds or traffic calming measures, and presence of crossing guards. So those are the top reasons. And this is true for us for every one of our schools, both elementary schools and for the middle school. And then let me get down to this question, which I thought was very enlightening. So just bear with me for a moment while I scroll down to that page. Oh, no, not that one. What is your age? No. Hopefully I didn't go past it. I guess I did. Give me just a minute. There's a lot of information here. If anybody is interested in getting this survey or seeing the survey, let me know and I'm happy to send it out. Here it is. If you currently allow your student or students to walk or bike to and from school, are any of the following benefits a factor? And I thought this was really interesting. 63% said it's fun. Who remembers fun? That's great. 75% said student independence. And 65% said it's good for the environment. And 84% said improved health and physical activity. All, I think, terrific reasons for us to make biking or walking to school accessible for our students. So if you have any questions about this survey, ask me now, because otherwise I'm going to move on to something else.
Good job. That's great.
It was fun. It was a good meeting.
Go ahead. I don't see any hands up.
Oh, I see Molly.
Oh, Molly, now I do.
So were there any other just sort of big items that stuck out to you aside from this stuff about having safe routes to schools on the survey?
There were other conversations. Again, LOCAC is the funding mechanism for doing projects. So there was somebody who gave a report on one of their funding cycles and grant cycles. And so they do talk about projects that they are working on. They're doing a big project in Oceano, a big sidewalk project in Oceano that's been funded. So that's inspiring because, you know, I'd like to see a very similar project like that happen here. But the survey I thought was one that you'd be most interested in because it is directly related to our schools.
Yeah, and did the survey include stuff about what people wanted in terms of along Los Osos Valley Road between here and San Luis, a bike path that was separate from the road?
Well, so our schools are part of a larger school district, so it doesn't relate only to our schools.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Well, let me go and pull up my next share thing. So I want to thank those of you who showed up for the open house. That was this past Monday. It was held at Monarch Grove Elementary School, and it was to review and provide input to the Los Osos Valley Road Corridor Plan. I'm going to share my screen. This was a handout that they gave us when we were there. So I'm just going to read this first part because it explains it very well. The Los Osos Valley Road Corridor has been the subject of multiple planning efforts over the years. The purpose of this effort is to consolidate and refine all of the planning and engineering to date into one comprehensive document adopted by the County Board of Supervisors that paves the way for incremental improvement of Los Osos Valley Road. The Los Osos Valley Road Corridor Concept Plan will remain as a conceptual design tool to facilitate corridor improvements in preparation of capital project delivery. The county is serving as the lead agency in cooperation with LOCAC on development and implementation of this plan. So, why is this important? Because once this conceptual plan is adopted by the county, that's going to be our blueprint for moving forward. So if you want something on Los Osos Valley Road, like our separated bike pedestrian path on Los Osos Valley Road, you need to make sure that your comments are being heard. This is the way you do it, by showing up on Monday, and I know a lot of you did. And you can still go to this website here and you can still post comments in the locations. There's a little map, and this is what it looks like here, where you can click on a spot, an intersection or whatever, and you can log a comment. So it's really important that we get all of our comments in and we get all of our ideas put on this plan, because once it's finalized, it's going to be the blueprint for decades, because this is not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over years and decades of what will be built. I suspect they'll do certain sections of it. If you remember, I'm just going to remind you that this corridor study begins at Foothill and goes all the way down into Montana de Oro to the Spooner Cove. So it's a long, long corridor. And there's lots of projects that they're talking about doing, widening the road into Montana de Oro and creating a bike lane. They're talking about widening Los Osos Valley Road and creating bike lanes and walking paths. So, you know, go to the website, take a look at it. All of the suggestions and things are being put together, and they've got some proposed improvements. And so, let's make sure we get all of our input in. And if you have questions about this, I'm happy to take your questions.
Anyone have questions for Deborah?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Like I've been talking
you.
about that thing for a while, so I think everybody got the message.
All right, let's
good
move
job.
on to the consent agenda. Larry, can you go over the two projects?
Yeah, we had two projects at our last meeting. One is a cell tower behind in the parking lot behind grocery outlet. It's going to look like a pine tree. One of the things was going to make it look like a water tower, but I guess the county didn't think that fit in with everything, so they went with the tree look instead. Sea Pines has one. If you look out there, anyway. So that was that. We figured that it was a good idea to have more cell towers around, because it's we need them. Paramedics and fire department, a lot of their equipment run off of cell towers, and so it's important for them also. The other project was a small room addition and a deck uh, out on Travis Drive, and again, we didn't think it was a big enough issue or anything. Looked like it was a pretty nice project, so we put both of these on the consent agenda, and as there's no major issues with either one of these projects.
Thank you. Let's go back to the first one. Any questions for Larry on the first one? And Andrea, your hand's up, and it's a beautiful scenery of Colorado.
I know, I'm not quite sure why I'm not there, because I am here. I just have a quick question. One, I think it said on the agenda that it was going to look like a eucalyptus tree, but either way, has there been any improvements in what those trees, and I use the word really loosely, look like? The one at Sea Pines is horrific. It doesn't look like a tree. It seems like at this point, you know, the companies have been doing this for long enough that they should be able to have these look a little bit better. And I guess that's my only question. And Larry, I don't know if you know the answer to that, but they're pretty poor looking.
Yeah, and the location where it's actually going, it's not going to be visible from Los Osos Valley Road, so it's only going to be visible if you actually, go back in that back parking lot behind Miners and stuff. And again, they did some pictures, of what it's going to look like from different parts back there, and it's fairly well blends in and stuff. It's not going to stand out or anything. But anyway, no, I can't tell you whether the tree looks any better or not.
All right, I'm just gonna take that as it doesn't look any better. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right, Lindy, you have your hand up. I'll ask you to unmute.
Yeah, I think the tree is basically just to keep our attention, not thinking it's a cell tower because they don't look like trees. So it's a little camouflage, and I hope they have improved them. But the other issue that I brought up, and I think we all should be thinking about, is there's still controversy about whether cell towers are healthy neighbors to places. They're not allowed on emergency, like fire stations cannot have them because it has affected the employees. They can't sleep. There's issues with them. So we brought up the other idea that will other carriers be able to be on this, because otherwise, if AT&T gets one, then maybe we have the next carrier coming in going, well, we need one too. And so I just urge that we don't open up the precedent. This is a fairly good location for it. There are not a lot of neighbors nearby that will be as affected by the electromagnetic stuff. So anyway, just wanted to add that in. And I hope that we don't just think that we need more cell towers because we're so dependent on these. We visited it about 20 years ago and had a huge LOCAC issue. So there's history there I could share if anybody wants it. Okay.
Nope, that's okay.
That's all.
All right, can I get a motion on this? Can I get a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion, all in favor, raise your hand.
We get a second?
Oh, can I get a second? Sorry.
I'll second.
Molly, second. All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? Unanimous, okay. All right. Let's go to, sorry, I'm trying to be the secretary, and so the second one, any questions on that? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A
I'll second.
motion to accept, Deborah. Second, Jim. All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, opposed? No opposed, unanimous, okay. I will get those to the county tonight. There are no regular agenda items, and the only business item is those of you going to the CAC. It is tomorrow morning, so get on over there, as I'll be going to Northern Cal. Any other questions from the council before I adjourn?
Just clear it. It starts at 9 o'clock, right? 8:30.
8:30.
Got it.
Don't be late then.
Exactly.
Exactly. All
I think-
right.
yeah.
No other business. Okay, then I adjourn at 8:09.
Thank you.
Wow.
Good meeting.
What kind of record, huh?
Bye-bye.
Nice going, chief.
All right, you
Thank
guys,
you.
thank you so much. It was a great meeting.
Thank you.